Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Gananaham Tva Ganapatigum Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamasravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anasrinvan Utivitsidatadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhinama Vitrayavatu Ganesaya Namaha Saraswatyai Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketur Ganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvajaha Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Safivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Yasyad Virada Vaktradhya Parishadhya Parasatam Vignam Nigdhanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tam Asraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Ya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsa Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvo Paplava Rahitaha Pragyana Ganaha Pratyagarto Brahmaivaham Asmi Om Narayanam Padmabhavam Vasishtam Saktim Cha Tatputra Parasaram Cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Sishyam Sri Sankaracharya Mathasya Padmapadam Cha Hasta Malakam Cha Sishyam Tam Totakam Vartikakara Manyanas Madgurun Santata Manatosmi Shruti Smruti Purana Namalayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Isvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. With Swami's grace and Shankara Bhagavad Padal Anugraham and blessings, let us continue where we left off. We were in slokam 27. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Dheyam Sripati Rupam Ajasram Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam Deyam Dinajanaya Cha Vittam. We saw that. And now 28. Sukatah Kriyate Rama Bhogaha Paschat Hanta Sharire Rogaha Yadhyapi Loke Maranam Sharanam Tadapina Munchati Papa Charanam. Slokam number 28 for those who just joined. Sukata Kriyate Rama Bhogaha Paschadhanta Sharire Rogaha Yadhyapi Loke Maranam Sharanam Tadapina Munchati Papa Charanam. Sukataha Kriyate Rama Bhogaha Paschat Anta Sharire Rogaha Yat Api Loke Maranam Sharanam Tat Api Na Munchati Papa Acharanam. This slokam is unbelievable. When I read it first time, this talks about what today we call as AIDS, and that's what it exactly addressing right here. It says, Sukataha Kriyate Rama Bhogaha. Sukataha, for the sake of happiness, for the sake of pleasure, Sukham. Kriyate, doing, do. Rama Bhogaha. Rama Bhoga means enjoyment. Rama Bhogaha means carnal pleasures. And so that is what people do. For the sake of happiness, one indulges in carnal pleasures. Paschat, later on, what happens? Hanta. Paschat, hanta, sharire rogaha. Hanta means alas, oh my God, poor. We say, oh, like that. But later on, hanta, sharire rogaha, the body becomes full of diseases and illnesses because it's been indulging excessively in carnal pleasures. So where is the solution? Yadyapi loke maranam sharanam. Where does this lead in this world? This kind of excessive carnal pleasures leading to illnesses and diseases of the body. What is the end? Where does it lead in this world? Maranam sharanam. But normally we talk about sharanam to the lotus feet. We surrender and we fall at the lotus feet. Here, the only escape for him is sharanam to maranam. Oh my God, I want to die. I cannot take this anymore. Right? That is where it leads to. Because we see this exactly what's happening in AIDS. As we know, we've been following for the past couple of decades, right? I was astounded when I read this slokam, because that's exactly what it, Tadapi, even then, even though this is where it leads to, this excessive carnal pleasures leading to body illnesses and diseases, there is no cure for it except death. Even though it is like that, Tadapi, even then, na munchati papa acharanam. Acharanam means practice of papam, of sinful activities. Na munchati, he does not give up, he does not leave it behind. So this is such a powerful capture of what is happening. And sukataha kriyate rama bhogaha paschat hanta sharire rogaha yadyapi loke maranam sharanam tadapina munchati papa acharanam. Slokam number 29. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam nasti tatas sukha lesa satyam putradapi dhana bhajam bhidihi sarvatraisha vihita ritihi. Please remember the slokam, very important. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam nasti tatas sukha lesa satyam putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatraisha vihita ritihi. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam na asti tataha sukha leshaha satyam putrad api dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatra yesha vihita ritihi. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam. Nityam, always. Artham, wealth. Anartham is calamitous. It brings only sorrow in its wake. It's dangerous. It brings only calamity. And on this bhavaya, think about this. Reflect this truth. So, nityam, constantly think about this. Artham anartham. Wealth is equal to calamity. Wealth is equal to misery. Wealth is equal to sorrow. Wealth is equal to difficulty. Wealth is equal to lack of peace. Whatever way you want to analyze it, artham, anartham, bhavaya nityam. Why? Money makes many wrongs. The only way we can lead a peaceful life, a really happy life, is one of contentment. And where there is contentment, there is peace. Where there is peace, there is happiness. Now, that does not mean if $1 million comes to you, you should reject it. That's not what the instruction here is. What he's talking about is the chase, the desire for wealth, the chasing after wealth and putting wealth as supreme over everything else. That is where the difficulty comes in. So money makes many wrongs. For the sake of money, for the sake of earning wealth, how many mistakes, how many wrongs that people do, whether they lie, whether they kill, whether they cheat, right? They scheme things, in order to get money, and full of deceptions and conceits and all these things. What do? You may get the money, but do you get peace of mind? Impossible. And then when you have some money, you're always afraid. Oh my God, am I going to lose it? How can I protect it? The worry comes in. Is somebody else going to steal it from me? Is somebody else trying to cheat me? So you never have peace of mind. You may have material comfort, but very difficult to sleep at night peacefully, right? So artham, anartham. And the instruction from Bhagavan is that money makes many wrongs. Always remember that. That does not mean you should reject money. That does not mean you should be derisive of money. That's not what he's talking of. The thing here is we should not seek money. We should not go after money, and we should not give money undue importance. Nowadays, money is ruling us instead of us ruling money, instead of us ruling wealth. We are the human being. Man is the one who gives value to money, but he becomes a slave to money in return. Think about it very carefully, because this is a fundamental truth. And another thing is, we talked about money makes many wrongs. Dhananjaya, if you take that word, Bhagavan uses to address Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. And Dhananjaya is a name in Sahasranam also it comes. Dhananjaya does not mean one who has won over money. That is not the literal translation. What it means is that one who has earned the deservedness of wealth. And who is that? Only person who keeps the company of Bhagavan. Like the way how Lakshmi Devi came and put that garland to Sriman Narayana in the Kshetrasagar incident. And Narayana was absolutely unconcerned with wealth. So the wealth came to him and became his servant, right? Came to serve him. So that is the status we should raise ourselves to be. Okay, the wealth should come and seek us. We should not seek wealth. And the same thing goes for scholarship. Same thing goes for all types of wealth. If you keep the company of lotus feet, Bhaja Govindam in your mind, automatically all the other things will come to you. That is the true victory over dhanam. Okay? So it's artham, anartham. Please remember that. This is a very truthful statement. It may not be very pleasant. We all need money to live. We all need money to give charity. All those things are true. But the way of going about it is not to go and chase money and be a slave to it, because it gives lots of problems in its wake. Okay? There is a way to earn wealth. The wealth will come. You should command it in such a way, when you keep the company of the lotus feet, the other things will come to you of their own accord. But you will not be concerned. You will not want them. This is what Christianity also says. It's the love of money that is sin, not money itself. Okay? Artham, anartham, bhavaya nityam. Then, nasti tataha sukha lesa satyam. Nasti, na asti, there is not. Tataha, from it, from that wealth. Sukha lesaha. Lesaha means the little, small amount, even the slightest amount, sukham, of comfort, of happiness. Even a little happiness is nasti, it is not there from it. This satyam, this is the truth. Putrat api, dhana bhajam, bhitihi. Putrat api. Even when you have wealth, even from your own son, dhana bhajam, to the rich people, from their own son, they will have bhitihi, they will have fear. Why? Will he cheat me? Is he waiting for me to go, and is he going to take away all my wealth? So that is why people, keep their thing and put the will, and only when after they are gone, the money goes to their sons and all that. What happens if they're living, they give the money to the sons? They're afraid that the son may check me out. So now the next line says, that's very beautifully, it says, Sarvatraisha vihita ritihi. Sarvatra, everywhere. Yesha, this. Vihita is ordained. Vihita means this is the rule. This is the way things taking place. Is ritihi. This is the way things happen, the way of the world. That's the succinct meaning of the slokam. So very important to remember. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam nasti tata sukha lesas satyam. Putrapi dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatraisha vihita ritihi. Slokam number 30. Now, in the previous slokam talked about satsangam, talked about doing namasmaranam, sahasranamam, Gita study, and meditating, thinking about the form of God that's the closest to your heart, and then satsangam, and then doing charity in the right way and all that, right? Now, what happens if you follow that? Okay. And then some of the dangers he mentioned. Wealth is a danger in the process, and the attraction of the opposite sex is a danger in the process. That's again, Acharya has repeated it. Okay. Sukata Kriyate Rama Bhogaha talks about the attraction of the opposite sex. And the next one, he's talking about the danger of wealth, of seeking wealth, of going madly after wealth, right? With that warning, then the Acharya comes to what happens internally, right? So if you keep satsangam and if you do Bhaja Govindam and follow one or two precepts from Gita and say Bhagavan's name every day and wherever possible, and train yourself to be less and less selfish by sharing things that you have with others, and people who need them. So all those things, when you start doing it, what happens to your mind? What happens to the purity of your mind internally? That's what he's talking about. Next sloka. Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya viveka vicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam kurvavadhanam mahatavadhanam. Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya viveka vicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam kurva avadhanam mahat avadhanam. The padangal are pranayamam pratyaharam nitya anitya viveka vicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam kurva avadhanam mahat avadhanam. Pranayamam means we immediately think it is breathing exercise, right? That's the way it is translated in English, and we don't think about it. We just follow it blindly. But that's not what pranayama means. For breathing control that people talk about, the breath control that in yoga and everybody teaches, and the correct word, Sanskrit word for that is swasa yama, not pranayama. Swasam is the breathing that we do. So breath control means swasa yama, the controlling of the breath. That's a correct Sanskrit word. So what does pranayama means? Why do they use the word pranayama? It means something else. Prana means life, period. It is pranan, and that is why we are all moving about. And there are our rishis have experienced and taught us. There are 5 forms of pranan that is taking place in order to keep this otherwise an inert body, an inert mind, really, to keep it life, give it life, right? There are 5 things that is taking place. One is the pranan. And way to understand that pranan is, normally we say the breathing out, right? That is what we normally say. But in the Vedic parlance, in the way that the rishis have intended, have really taught us, if you want to understand it from their perspective, try to understand it from their perspective, then the pranan actually means all the, we perceive so many things in this world, right? Because all our 5 senses are externally oriented. From that we perceive so many things all the time, all those perceptions. And when we perceive, we also receive them, right? We take them in, the cognition that we have, both with the mind and with our senses, right? That we have. All that is called prana. Okay. Now, among all the things we perceive and we take in, we don't keep all that. Some of them we reject. Automatically we reject, right? Oh no, this is not for me. That process of whether it is material things or whether it is opinions or whether it is things or whether it is various responses by somebody else, doesn't matter. So the things that we don't keep, we reject. That is the apanan. And the digestive system physically that we have, when we take food, that food gets digested with an energy. And this energy is Vyanan. Then, scientifically speaking, yes, the stomach and the intestines and all that, we also know that the nutrients get circulated throughout the body. That's very important for the body from head to toe to live, right? We all know that. Now, the circulatory system that distributes the energy and the nourishment and keeps the life force, right, throughout, that is called Samanan. And then the Udanan, in a physical sense, it is the last gasp of air that we breathe out before our body becomes inert, which we call as dying in our parlance, or, basically our life has ended. That's why we use it, right? So that is called Udanan. That's the last gasp of air that comes out. Now, if you look at it from a living point of view, right, because everyone is associated with life. All the 5 things are associated with life. So what does Udanan mean? It means, we all know we have a capacity to lift ourselves, to grow up, not physically or mentally or emotionally, but spiritually, go towards the indweller, to become better human beings, right, than what we were born with. By the time we pass away, we must be a better human being. And so to lift ourselves to a nobler way of conducting ourselves, which means all these circuitous way of saying is simply putting means reduce our selfishness, become more loving, become more and more loving, expand our heart, expand our hridayam of more and more loving. That is the thing we should do from the moment we are born to the moment we pass away. That's the progress that we must make. That uplifting is Udanan. Now, all these 5 expressions of life, if you can call it that way, perceiving and receiving and rejecting and digesting and circulating, and then lifting ourselves, becoming nobler people in the process, better people in the process, better person, all these 5 aspects and 5 expressions of life is included in the term prana. So when we say pranayama, we are talking of controlling all these 5 aspects and expressions and experiences of life. Okay? And controlling means what? Not preventing them from doing their job. No. Controlling means channeling them so that the expressions of life, the job of these 5 aspects are done in the way they should be done, which means as offering to Bhagavan. So that is the only way we can lift ourselves up. So this is what pranayama means. Now, pratyaharam as a very first step, pranayama comes with steady practice, and that also I think it's covered in the 3rd line, I believe. We'll come to that. The pratyaharam is the very first step in the spiritual journey. It means withdrawing the senses from the sense object, and that means the eye sees something, the eye must not see. That's not the way some people understand. That's not what it is. We must allow the eye to do its job, the ear to do its job, the nose to do its job, right? The mouth to do its job of tasting or whatever. But everything must be done within the prescribed measure, within the prescribed amount, and not be excessively done and not be excessively attached to it. Okay, kind of doing it like the way a lotus lives. Not kind of in a detached way, we must perceive and cognize things. That's what the pratyaharam means, withdrawing the senses, controlling the senses. The very first teaching that Bhagavan gives to Arjuna, in Sankhya Yoga, the very first step we have to do is this in spiritual life. The Swami says, the 2 things that you've got to do as you begin, how to do sense control. You've got to first control your 2 things you've got to control. One is you got to control your food, and you've got to control your sex. Those are the 2 basic starting steps. The moment we do that, then automatically the sense control will become natural, will become facilitated. So, the pranayamam pratyaharam nitya anitya viveka vicharam. So the moment we start on this journey internally, right? And looking at the indweller inside and start practicing pranayamam, the true pranayamam, and the pratyaharam, controlling the food and other things and all that, what happens to the mind? The mind will automatically start inquiring, hey, is this permanent? Is this impermanent? This is not permanent. Let's not worry about it. Let me go to something that is permanent. So that nitya, anitya, vivekam, the discrimination, vicharam, inquiry. So that will begin and that will become more and more pronounced. So when something happens, you will not be bothered by it because you automatically will know that, hey, this is a passing cloud. It's not important. Right? So you're looking for something permanent, which is the Bhagavan's lotus feet. So automatically you will do that discrimination. Nitya, anitya, viveka, vicharam. Now, the third thing that takes place is japya, sameta, samadhi, vidhanam. And japam. Japam means reciting, Bhagavan's name and constantly, internally purifying our mind. Something with the wrong thought comes, wrong thing we want to do. No. Continuously cleaning our mind, with Bhagavan's name. Bhagavan's name is a soap, right, that we have to use. And so with that constant practice of whether Gayatri Japam or whatever thing that you want, but take one and keep on repeating it, automatically the mind will become purer and purer. Then, along with that Namasmaranam, along with that Japam that you are doing, Gayatri Japam or whatever we do, right, what happens progressively and steadily and definitely, something takes place. Samadhi Vidhanam. Now, Samadhi means oneness with the entity. What happens is, it is not something you get from outside. As we become purer and purer and purer, we actually become closer and closer and become one with the light, the truth, the purity, the pavitram that is within us. Right? That is what samadhi. So you're able to touch it. You're able to feel it. Maybe momentarily then you come back, but then it becomes longer and longer. So the samadhi vidhanam takes place. This journey of internal journeying, traveling to embrace the indweller, and under this path, the spiritual path, is Bhagavan says is not for the weak-hearted. It is very difficult, he says. At the same time, one has to follow this very carefully. Okay, it cannot be taken very lightly. It's a very, very serious matter. Okay, very important matter and very valuable, priceless matter. So, how would you handle a piece of diamond? You'll handle it very carefully. If you have $1 million in your bag, you'll carry that bag very carefully, right? It must be like that. This journey that we take, the discipline that we employ, must be done with tremendous care. Avadhanam. Avadhanam means with care. Kuru avadhanam. Do it with care. Mahat avadhanam. Do it. Kuru mahat avadhanam. Do it with great care. Do it with care and do it with great care. Be very careful about this. Don't take this lightly. This is what Acharya says. Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya nitya viveka vicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam kuru avadhanam mahat avadhanam. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Samasta lokaha sukhino bhavantu. Samasta lokaha sukhino bhavantu. Samasta lokaha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.